Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you all for being here for this monumental, pun intended, event, the unveiling of the monument to His Holiness Bhakti Sri Swami Maharaj. My name is Yarunath Das. I will try to lead you through the day's activities, the afternoon's activities. I just really appreciate people coming from this. I hope you had a great weekend, those of you who were at the Sadhu Sangha retreat. Anybody here come from Sadhu Sangha? Yeah? Great. Heard wonderful things about it. I'm sorry to have missed it. So today we're going to begin with various speakers, grand disciples and disciples of Srila Prabhupada, meaning heavily toward disciples. And that's going to take, well, to be honest with you, a few hours. It's going to be a nectarian few hours. And then we're going to call up my senior godbrother, His Holiness Bhakti Vaibhava Maharaj, to talk a little bit about, to acknowledge some people about the event, who put this together, and other things of that nature. Then that should take us to around 6 o'clock. Of course, this is ISKCON, so it's probably going to be 7:30 by that point. But then I'm going to do a short comedy presentation, which is scheduled for around 6 o'clock. After that, about 6:20, 6:30, we'll move over to the monument, which is almost straight back, a little to the left. I'll guide you there a little bit later if you don't know where it is. And once we do that, we'll have the Abhishek of the lotus feet, followed by Arti. Everyone will have a chance to offer flowers, which would be very lovely. And that will be followed by Prasadam. And then Gaur-Arti is in the temple room at 7:30, so we'll see if we can do that. I'm going to keep introductions of everybody very brief. I'm just going to ask people to come up so we can hear more insights and realizations from them rather than me. So has Gurudas arrived yet?
Yeah, he's here.
He's here, but is he here? Or is he just here? Yeah. Oh, don't change, Gurudas. We like you as you are. That's okay. In his time, he'll come. Okay, so I'm going to ask Mukunda Datta Prabhu to please come to the stage and share something with us.
From my senior godbrothers, the Jayadvaita Swami and others who are here, respectable personalities. I'm probably the last person that should speak first, but I've been asked to speak first, so I'll try to say something. Srila Prabhupada, those of us who are his direct disciples, we always like to meditate on his unfulfilled instructions. And one scholar had studied Srila Prabhupada's words and determined that he gave roughly 80% of the instructions that he gave on the topic of varnashram dharma within the last 3 years that he was with us in this world. And so one of the things that he intended to do was come to America in 1977. As we know, fate had it otherwise, but he wanted to come to Gitanagari, and he wanted to, in his own words, he wanted to teach us how to live in accordance with varnashram ideals. And that was one of the things that impressed me about His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami, because he was here in this place in his own attempt to fulfill that instruction of Srila Prabhupada. We can even say maybe that he gave his life for that purpose, because he could have been in other places as well, or he could have gone back to Vrindavan as well, as most of us do. But that alone commands enough respect that I can say that Srila Prabhupada was very happy around 1976 or 7, whenever Maharaj joined ISKCON, I don't remember when, that because when Bhakti Charu Swami joined, he was exactly the kind of person that Srila Prabhupada was waiting for. In those days, almost everyone in ISKCON was Western and very much unacquainted with Indian culture and spirituality and even the Bhakti tradition of our own Sampradaya to a large degree. But Bhakti Charu Swami was not only Indian but Bengali and very, very promising young student. And he proved himself to Srila Prabhupada and very quickly endeared himself to Srila Prabhupada by his wonderful qualifications. So what is being done in this place, Deland, Florida, and great memories here of Bhakti Charu Swami, and a great service to be rendered here in the future on behalf of Srila Prabhupada's mission. So I just thank you again, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to Bhakti Charu Swami. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mukunda Dutta Prabhu. Appreciate that. I would like to call Vishnu Gata Prabhu. That be okay? And maybe Garuda Prabhu, you're on deck. Is it okay? Thank you. Who's here? Yeah. We can do it however you want to do it, but we decided to go not necessarily in order of seniority. So we're going to jump around a little bit. If that's okay, we can also change that. Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripasindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I was reading, I have those books. Anybody read the memory books? Yeah, thank you. So, the one of Bhakti Charu Maharaj's memories is when he had to. Must have been probably July 1977. You probably know the story where Srila Prabhupada asked him for some orange juice in the morning. You know that one? And apparently Srila Prabhupada was a little bit indisposed at that time. So Bhakti Charu Maharaj at that time, he checked the Prabhupada kitchen, the deity kitchen, nothing. The devotee kitchen, there's no oranges. So he had to go and send somebody out, give somebody Lakshmi to go out down the, and of course at that time at Krishna Balaram Mandir, there were no shops in the area. You had to go way down the street to get to the shops. And so Srila Prabhupada was ringing his bell. He was ringing his bell. You remember this? Remember this? Yeah, it's a pretty. And so finally he came in and Bhakti Charu Maharaj said, so I'm just doing it now. And Prabhupada was ringing the bell very insistently. And then he finally finished. It took him some time to finish it, even after getting the orange juice. And he brought it on a silver tray to Srila Prabhupada. And as soon as he opened the door, what did Srila Prabhupada say? You remember this? Get out. I don't want it anymore. Remember this? You remember this? I mean, this is amazing to me. But Bhakti Charu Maharaj went still forward. Then he kind of bent down and he said, please, you take. And there was some pause. And finally, Srila Prabhupada took the orange juice and drank it. And then he said, if you remember, he said, you know, when we get old, remember this, when we get old, we get a little cranky. And you know what Bhakti Charu Maharaj said? He said, oh, don't say that, Srila Prabhupada. Unless you correct me, what will happen to me? And reading this, I'm just so amazed and humbled, because If Srila Prabhupada had done that to me, I wouldn't have been able to survive. No way. But this Bhakti Maharaj, he not only accepted the chastisement, but he welcomed it. And you know what this is? That is a bona fide disciple. It's just incredible, incredible. And as Mukundadat Prabhu was saying, this Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tatha Guru Tashyati Katita Hyarta Prakashante Mahatmana. That is a great soul. I never got chastised like that by Srila Prabhupada. I never did. I don't know, maybe some of you died. But that was really, Prabhupada was showing his mercy to Bhakti Maharaj, and Bhakti Maharaj accepted it and could take it and benefit, and not only for himself, but for all of you and us today. Because practically speaking, in ISKCON, there's a few devotees who have maintained ISKCON all these years since Prabhupada's disappearance. A few devotees. And among those, Bhakti Maharaj is one of those Mahatma's great devotees who have strengthened and carried on maintained this Hare Krishna movement. So I have to offer my bow down to Bhakti Maharaj many times. One other thing I wanted to mention also. Well, that's something else. Oh, that's something else. Okay. Okay. There's another time when he got. So Bhakti Charu Maharaj often tells stories about how he got chastised by Srila Prabhupada. Did you notice that? I wouldn't talk about that. I would be too embarrassed. But because my take is because he doesn't have the false ego like I do. But anyway, in 1977 in the spring, Srila Prabhupada was in Rishikesh Hardwar, and he showed two preparations to make. One was tomato chutney. You know this? And the other was badi chachari. Anybody know how to make badi chachari? Badi chachari is a vegetable with portal or parval and potatoes and lots of ghee and lots of chili, and they cook it hard and they burn it on the charred on the bottom. And actually, in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, it says that when Prabhupada came over on the Jaladuta, he made badi khichdi. But actually, it's a mistake. Actually, if you look in Prabhupada's diary, the Jaladuta diary, it's specifically badi chachari. Badi chachari. That preparation. It was one of Prabhupada's favorites. So, and Prabhupada showed Bhakti Maharaj how to make it. So then later he asked Bhakti Maharaj to make some badi chachari. But because Prabhupada was a little ill, he decided, don't put so much chili in. So when Prabhupada tasted the badi chachari, he called in Bhakti. This is also in the memories. I don't know if you remember this. He called in Bhakti Maharaj and he said, I told you personally how to make it. So he didn't put the chilies in like you're supposed to. I told you personally how to make it, and you didn't make it. What's up? Well, how come this? And Bhakti Maharaj explained, because you had some stomach problem. I thought maybe this was a good idea. The Prabhupada said, no, he went for the next several days. He said, I showed you personally how to make it, but you didn't make it that way. So from that, he's telling us, Bhakti Maharaj, that Srila Prabhupada was very, very particular about how to do things. Isn't it? He had a certain way of making badi chachari. He had a certain way of doing kirtan. He had a certain way of giving class. And those of us who are in this Hare Krishna movement, it's our prerogative and our meditation to see how Srila Prabhupada did things so we can carry on his legacy. We can make up our own ways, but that's not going to be necessarily pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. So one wonderful quality of Bhakti Charu Maharaj is he reminds us regularly about how Srila Prabhupada did things so we can follow in that way. Mahajano Jaina Gatasa Panta. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. We're going to ask Prabhu to come up and do that, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay, how do you go next? After Buddha? Okay. Thank you.
And Bhakti Swami, I miss you terribly. We've known each other. This looks like a bug. I've known Bhakti Charu Swami since the early 1980s, and upon contemplating coming down here, I thought of about 20 or 30 different instances that I remember so fondly and so sweetly. But I'm not going to give you all 20. I'll give you 5. And I'll do it in reverse chronological order. The last time I saw Bhakti Charu Swami was at Bhakti Henry's house in Washington, D.C., who often hosted wonderful devotees coming through Washington, D.C., and Bhakti Charu Swami was one of those who would often stay there. I, too, was one of those that would come through. So he and I were staying there at the same time because we were both attending an interfaith dialogue conference that Anuttama Prabhu was arranging in Maryland. So I was driving him down to the house, and we spent many hours together. The next morning, we had breakfast together, and that was the last time I would see him. And during this breakfast, we recounted so many funny things at our times together. And when I said goodbye to him, I went off back to my home, a few hours away. And the next morning, I was surprised to get a phone message from him. And it sounded something like this. Garuda Prabhu, breakfast time is simply not the same without you. Those were the last words that I ever heard from Bhakti Charu Swami. He called me a few years ago before writing his memoir. He said, Garuda, I need you to guide me in writing this memoir. And he said something like, Garuda Prabhu, I don't have anything to say about myself. Only I want to write about Srila Prabhupada. I said, that's where you're wrong. If you don't write about yourself and about your own biographical history, showing how Prabhupada transformed your life, then you're depriving us of Prabhupada's grace. So I was firm with him, almost chastising him at the thought he would only write about Prabhupada, as if he could do that without writing about himself and how his very life was transformed by Prabhupada. So if you read his memoir, he writes a lot about himself. He does. I think it's very powerful what he does there. During the years I was teaching at Duke University, I was finishing up my doctorate. But one of the things I did was, and many devotees would come through North Carolina, but I was extremely picky who I would have come to my class. Very picky. You remember Lakshmi Sharmaji. Yeah. But Bhakti Charu met my requirements. I said, but you can't bring any friends or disciples. Just you and me. I'll be the teacher. You be the sannyasi guest, the Vaishnava guest. You cannot believe how these students were absolutely melting by all the things that he talked about. He was so sweet and so personal. I was so glad I made this arrangement, and it's something I'll never forget. So, the last thing I'd like to tell you is when I was completing my doctorate, I was sharing with Bhakti Charu, who had come down to North Carolina where I was teaching, but I was finishing my doctorate there. And I would share with him some of the poetry I was translating from the Bhagavata Purana. So I was sitting next to him, and I was handing over my manuscript, having him look at it, and he was reading, and I was reading certain passages. I pointed out certain things. And then he was sitting there, and he was staring, and he was staring, And he was still staring. I thought, maybe he's comatose or something. I didn't know what happened. I said, Swamiji, are you okay? And he kept looking at the poetry. He said, this is some of the most beautiful thing I have ever read. So he's reading from the Bhagavad, my translations. Now, that dissertation that I wrote turned into a book published by Princeton University Press, which he knew about, but I never got a chance to give it to him. And now, 20 years later, Oxford University Press is going to publish an abridged version of it, from the Yoga of Love, Krishna and the Rasa Lila from the Bhagavad Purana. This is the time that I would love to sit with him and share with him some of the struggles I went through with putting this book together, some of the beautiful things that I discovered. But since I can't do that with him physically, what I am going to do is commit $1,000 worth of copies of this book to key Bhakti Charu disciples. Now, Yananatji has already committed to being one of those. Okay, okay, that's good. He's a little excited. And I think Vishwabar and Brinda, his wife, in Alachua, I will send 10 copies to these key disciples to send out to other Bhakti Charu disciples. Now I've got 2 or 3 people in London. So if all of these disciples, these loving disciples of Bhakti Charu, read, get this book, and can appreciate it a little bit, I can be sure that Bhakti Charu Swami is hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. You ask
But you can't have it back.
And is Duranga Prabhu here? Duranga Prabhu? Duranga? No.
So nice to see you. You were very right about how particular Prabhupada was. He was so regulated that on the Parikramah in Vrindavan, he would pass a man every morning at 6:03 a.m. And I would look at my watch and I would change it if it wasn't 6:03. He was very scientific about what he ate. Being a pharmacist, he would say, okay, all the food groups, but I'll eat this one first. So he was particular, but very open-minded. He allowed a totem pole in the San Francisco temple and a picture of Lord Jesus. He was the most non-compromising, open-minded person I ever met. But if you try to alter it, whether it's the books or one of his instructions, he was like the general. At the opening of the Vrindavan temple, he told me who to invite and how to do it. And if they won't eat with us, they consider us not Brahmins. We don't want them. So many nuances. And he was 100% there on. And, but like I said, if you try to change what he didn't want at the time, he would bust you. He would check. We were walking in Regent Park. I like Bhakti Vinod Thakur's writings because it's epic and Victorian. He's so magnanimous and forgiving. And so we're walking, and I say to Prabhupada, Bhakti Vinod Thakur is my second favorite author. Prabhupada said, second. Again, Prabhupada, you read my mind. He's my favorite because yours is instructive and awesome and also poetic, but he's really poetic. And he's Victorian and he's epic and magnanimous. And Prabhupada said, if I had 1/10 of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, I'd be a great but the real miracle was that there was a rat in the garbage can, and Prabhupada took his cane and let him free. And when a butterfly was there on John Lennon's estate, Prabhupada put his hand like that, the butterfly got on it. That's a photograph I really should have done, but it was an icon. I didn't want to spread the mood. That would have been a good one. But the real miracle was that he said, open the window so that butterfly can get something to eat. Of all the qualities, his compassion. So when I was writing by his example, I had the same dilemma. It was all Prabhupada, but then I was part of it. And my version was also part of the interaction. We had this special, he took me everywhere, on TV, Lalit Prasad, signed Juhu, Vice President of India. We had this really nice relationship. I let him set the agenda. So I was not going to write much about myself first, but then I said, if I don't include myself, then it's impersonal. And so you must include yourself in Krishna consciousness with your direct special relationship with Krishna. So Bhakti Charu was like that, and I met him first in India, and I immediately thought, oh, well, this guy's the real deal, and he's a Paka sadhu. And some devotees you naturally gravitate towards. It's a microcosm of society, but we gravitated towards each other, and then he would go someplace and I'd hear about him. And then he came to San Francisco and he was doing a film about Charu. And so he said, will you help me to find a redwood tree in the middle of San Francisco? And I said, yes. Can you find a 1957 car? Yes. So I did that, but then he said, you know, Gurudas, the San Francisco section about you, so you should act in the film and be an advisor. And he was very generous. And he used Russian cameras instead of very smart, to make a film. So I was ready to play myself, but I realized I was 40 years younger and 40 pounds lighter. So somebody that looked like me played Gurudas. I ended up playing Allen Ginsberg, who was going to actually write the introduction to my biases. He left the class. So working with him, it was so delightful and so first class. We even recreated a Jagannath festival in a grove that just opened up in San Francisco. It was a road and they closed it down. And I actually hired 10 actual hippies. And then we had the devotees and we did a car. And this couple was there having a picnic in the grove. Oh, the new grove is so peaceful. And suddenly Jagannath and the hippies and all descended upon the grove with our prasadam cart. It was like a Fellini film. Any rate, being with Bhakti Charu Swami, he's definitely one of the real deals. We want to enhance our compassion. We want to enhance our humility. We want to enhance all the things that Prabhupada is the precedence to, and act that way. If you're in Prem, there's no time for lawsuits. So, to remember Bhakti Charu Swami and Prabhupada, try to emulate these wonderful Vaishnava qualities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was actually during the shooting, the filming of Abhay Charan that I met Gurudas for the first time. And most people who know me know that I'm a Beatle maniac. I love the Beatles. And it grew large in my legend. Yeah. And I was talking to Gurudas about George Harrison. And the next day, he brought to the set with him a copy of one of the letters that George personally wrote him. And he gave me a copy of my letter, which I have. Thank you for that. Very well. Okay. I'd like to invite Guru Ranga Prabhu to come up. Oh, and also, can everybody just move forward, please, so we can make more room in the back? Guru Ranga Prabhu? I've lost track of him. Oh, there he is. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for moving up. Is Gauranga Prabhu here? I guess. Okay.
Charu now? I don't know what this is. Well, that was from. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Parashchat Vidushatari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasa Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The last time I came to the Deland project, Bhakti Charu Swami drove me here from Lake Mary, where I was visiting him. He was staying in the house of a disciple. I don't know if it was that time or another time, but there was a hurricane. It was being announced for South Florida, and it was going to come ashore in northern Miami, where I was living at the time. So wasn't really sure how to deal with it. My mom was about 98 years old at the time, and they told us that it would be unsafe for us to stay, and she really couldn't travel very far. We took her to a special place for elderly people to shelter in the hurricane. And then we drove across Florida and up to Florida to Orlando, because Bhakti Charu Swami said, I'm in Orlando, why don't you come here? The hurricane isn't predicted to come here. And sure enough, the hurricane missed North Miami, missed my mom, went across Florida, went up the coast, turned in, and went to Orlando. Go figure. But I was always safe with Bhakti Charu Swami. Every service that I had that involved him made me feel that somehow Prabhupada would be pleased. I could work and serve with him because I knew how much Bhakti Charu Swami meant to Srila Prabhupada. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did he get initiated, all initiations right at the same time, and then shortly thereafter sannyas? Or? Right. I mean, talk about not following the rules. Of course, Prabhupada made the rules. So I had a chance here and there. I was serving in Europe, so in 1982, I believe I met Bhakti Charu Swami for the first time. He called the Zurich temple and asked if he could come and visit. I was like, of course, you must be kidding. We're just so delighted. And I failed to get permission for his visit. At that time, it was important to get permission for visiting sannyasis. I got into a little trouble about that, but I never mentioned anything to Bhakti Charu Swami because it would have been tasteless. And over the years, we would meet here and there. We met in Deland, as I mentioned. We also met in New York at a key time when he actually was the chairman of the GBC and the New York temple was under contract for sale. And my perspective was that the GBC body wasn't quite sure how to handle it. Because in the resolution they passed, they said, if this or this doesn't happen, then we approve going to stop the sale of the temple. But no one could give any guarantees about if such and such doesn't happen. But I took that to mean that it's okay. And the executive committee that year was Bhakti Charu Swami, Sheshaprabhu, and Pragosh. And I got a call from them very unexpectedly asking me if I could help them. And that was a very difficult time in my life because I was already a lawyer. I had begun to practice law. But somehow nobody in ISKCON ever asked me to offer any legal service to the movement. I once had a dream where Prabhupada finds out that I was no longer in Switzerland, and he asks, what is he doing? Why is he not here? Because Prabhupada actually sent me to Switzerland personally when I got Brahmin initiation to preach. And in my dream, the answer was, well, he went to law school and became a lawyer. And in the dream, Prabhupada says, he's a lawyer? He's not preaching here anymore? I told him to preach here. So in dreams, everything happens that is not logical, but it is really. And in dreams, you can just suddenly fly somewhere and be there. And Prabhupada said, ask him to come see me. So suddenly I'm offering dandavats to Prabhupada in his room. And Prabhupada says, so you're no longer preaching in Switzerland? I said, no, I'm not, Srila Prabhupada. He said, I'm told that you are practicing law? Yes, Prabhupada, I became a lawyer. I went to law school. I said, are you offering your legal skills to the movement? It was like one of these gotcha moments. It was going to get worse before it got better. And I said, nobody's asked me, Srila Prabhupada. And there's like dead silence. It's a dream. And then Prabhupada says, I see. They must ask you. You do not know how to offer. And I thought, when I woke up, oh my God. How do I insert myself? It was like out of sight, out of mind for a number of years, And then a few weeks later, I got a phone call from Bhakti Charu. He said, I'm the chairman of the executive committee this year, and Shesha and Pradosh and I would like to know if you'll help us stop the sale of the Brooklyn Temple. And I swear to you, at that moment, I thought a million things all at once. I thought, this is the answer to my prayers. This is Prabhupada. Just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati spoke to Prabhupada through Keshava Maharaj. Said, you must take sannyas. No one can preach unless they take sannyas. And Prabhupada in one version said, oh, how horrible. How horrible. And then Prabhupada said, but then I understood. It was not Keshava Maharaj doing the asking. It was my Guru Maharaj speaking through him. So I thought that Prabhupada speaking to me through Bhakti Charu Swami. I also thought that, I don't know what this entails, but at this point, with dreams and other things, how can I say no? How can I say maybe? But how can I say yes? Because if I say yes and it's a flop, I will go down in history as the lawyer who lost the Brooklyn Temple. But then I just said yes, because to Prabhupada we say yes. Yes, Prabhupada, yes. And then I had a chance to work with Bhakti Charu Swami, and we did a GBC informational town hall in New York that was the product of many devotees. Hello? He had her at hello. And he talked about, how are you? What are you doing? Is everything okay? Interested in her. No preaching statements. No, I'm not better than you. We're just here. I think it was when we were hiding from the hurricane. She never forgot him. She always remembers him most fondly of any devotee, just from that one meeting. Record time and empower him. And he was always so friendly and beloved wherever he went. It was really impossible to dislike Bhakti Charu Swami. Maybe in a moment one could be disturbed about something, I don't know. But it never could last. And so it's an emotional moment to be back here. I also had a chance to associate with him indirectly in his final Leela. There were a group of doctors that were formed to advise and find out what the right treatments were for him at the Advent Hospital in Orlando. And I remember that somebody published a photo of Bhakti Charu Swami. I guess you could say, in his agony in the ICU. And so I reached out to this team and I said, did you have permission to release that photo? You know, these things are all governed by the HIPAA confidentiality laws. You have no right to release that without permission. Since he's intubated and no one is allowed in the ICU, it's wall glassed off, who gave you the power of attorney to do that? And they didn't have an answer, and eventually got kicked off the committee. So, I don't know, everything about him was so special. You could say that about many devotees, but I second Garuda Prabhu's emotion. I miss you very much. I never cried as much in ISKCON, except for Prabhupada's disappearances when he passed. I really lost, like 3 days, I was like disoriented. I really was. For a guy who likes to think he's coherent most of the time, I was totally incoherent for about 3 days. So it's an honor to be here and to remember him. I'm looking forward very much to see the unveiling of the monument. And if Prabhupada made only one devotee like Bhakti Swami, and of course he made many wonderful devotees, I'm in no position to rate anybody, but that would be enough. That would be enough. So thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for everything that you gave to each one of us. You took us as we were. Bhakti Swami took everybody as he met them and tried to become their friend and well-wisher and helper if they wanted. In that way, he was the true son of Srila Prabhupada. It's really hard to think of Bhakti Swami without thinking of his very special relationship to Srila Prabhupada. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Much appreciated. I'd like to invite to the stage His Holiness Bhakti Damodar Maharaj. Because I invited him, doesn't mean he's going to accept my invitation. Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. I just ask Gauranga Prabhu to be on deck. Gauranga Prabhu, you'll be next after Maharaj. Okay?
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutara Smanti Jivitan Swami Namaste Saraswati Gauravan Vichari Nirvisesa Samya Vasatha Devata Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Om Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Very embarrassed to sit here looking over the exalted uncles and senior devotees. I came to hear about the glories of the Bhakti interactions of Prabhupada from the senior devotees.
I will not prepared to come and sit here and say something. I'm surprised we called to come and sit here. Srila Prabhupada, a pure representative for Lord Krishna, transformed the whole world by sharing all the potency of the holy name and being loyal to his spiritual master. He said that he had many god brothers who were even senior to him, but he was able to do it because he was loyal to the Bhakti and just as that is his potency, that is his humility. So in that way he met so many wonderful devotees saying for present here. And particularly his holidays Bhakti Charu Maharaj. He demonstrated the quality of being a disciple. The scripture mentioned that if the spiritual master leaves, the disciples will go with him, just like the case ladies should go with him. Only if the disciple has a project of his guru, that's a qualification for him to stay, otherwise he should go with the spiritual master. We show that wonderful quality in the life of his solemn Bhakti. When Prabhupada was put into Samadhi, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, one of the devotees who were, and they were putting sand, other devotees were coming out. Bhakti Charu remained there until the sun came out to his head. Just little remaining for him to cover it, because he had the desire to go with his mission. But Swarup disciple Maharaj was able to see them moving out for Prabhupada was. It is very, very touching the way our shastras made personal, they are made into reality by the example of wonderful pure beauty that is holiness Bhakti Charu. So we always remember this and appreciate him very much for this wonderful. It's showing us that the scriptures we made life, not only to remember the holiness Bhakti Charu.
Prabhu and Alan Gauranga Prabhu, I'd like to ask the Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Om Agyantinirandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmatameya Tasmai Shri. Srila Prabhupada ki, Her Highness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki. Srila Prabhupada was in Mumbai, Juhu, and the tenants' flats were there, and on the terrace, Srila Prabhupada was just having a conversation with a group of well-wishers and devotees. And a very prominent businessman at that time in Mumbai, he entered, and the devotees introduced this person to Srila Prabhupada and said that Srila Prabhupada himself introduced, and he said to other devotees, "This is Mr. Brij Ratan Mohta, very famous businessman, prominent businessman, relative of the Birla family. And he is joining us today in the evening satsang." So Mr. Mohta immediately replied and he said that Srila Prabhupada, you went to America with 40 rupees. Now you have temples all over the world worth 40 crore rupees. You are the real businessman. Prabhupada immediately said, why don't you join my business there? And Mr. Mohta said, I can serve by supporting from the outside and doing whatever I can to support this mission. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj is one personality who not only inspired devotees to practice Krishna consciousness by giving them the deepest message of pure devotional service, but he was also at the forefront of connecting with people who could not directly practice bhakti, could not directly do sadhana and be part of the ISKCON mainstream society, but would engage them and their skills in Krishna's service in multiple ways. He is one person who was extremely prominent in connecting with businessmen. Very prominent businessmen were inspired by his personality, his gentlemanly nature, his ability to connect with them at a personal level. He could connect with filmmakers, artists, musicians from the industry and inspired many of them to offer their art for Krishna. He could connect with many politicians and bureaucrats. And interestingly, the land at Ujjain was given by the chairman of the that time Ujjain Development Authority way back in 2005-2006 period. So he was so inspired by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj that he really wanted, ISKCON to have that land. And because of that gift from the Ujjain Development Authority given by the chairperson, ISKCON could build that project. Then Bhakti Charu Maharaj had this out of the box idea that we should give an award every year for the best citizen of Ujjain. And that award will include a free trip to ISKCON temples in Europe. So immediately after the temple was opened, he gave that award to this chairperson of the Ujjain Development Authority and organized an entire trip to all the temples across Europe. And on a regular basis, he would come and meet with Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And in the 2023 elections in Madhya Pradesh, this chairperson of the Ujjain Development Authority who gave the land to Ujjain became the chief minister of Madhya Pradesh, Dr. Mohan Yadav. And he still fondly remembers his relationship with Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And because of the kind of memories he has and the experience he had with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he opened up so many avenues for ISKCON after becoming the chief minister that His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj and the devotees of Ujjain organized a state-sponsored Pan Madhya Pradesh Gita contest where more than 300,000 schools participated and almost 1 million students wrote the Gita exam, and it was all organized through the Chief Minister's office along with ISKCON Ujjain. So that's the kind of Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Prabhupada. 250 years back, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also predicted the same thing. Aha, when that day will come, people from Russia, Persia, means from Russia and from France, they will come to India and they will accept this Krishna consciousness and they will embrace the people of the devotee of India and together will chant Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan. That was also translated to reality by Srila Prabhupada. 150 years, 200 years before, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he had the same prediction where he expected people from whole world will come and will do this Navadri Mandal Parikrama. So from this we understand the greatness of Srila Prabhupada. If you understand something in whole, you have to understand the tree. What great tree it is. Srila Prabhupada is so great. India, Vivekananda is very famous in India. Sometimes I think Vivekananda, he came to America and he brought back to India one lady called Nivedita. That's why he's very famous. Nivedita, he brought one lady. But if you compare to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada brought thousands of such ladies. And so how glorified Prabhupada would be. So there's so much glories of Srila Prabhupada, but actually it has been stated, Vriksha phale parichayate. What kind of tree you are, that will be recognized through what kind of fruit you are, from the fruit. And we can see that Prabhupada, being a tree, what nice fruits he has produced. So to glorify Prabhupada, so his disciples, also we have to understand the greatness of the disciples. Sometimes I contemplate that Prabhupada started this movement more than 50 years ago. So much preaching we have been doing, but we don't see up to today a personality from Bengali background, the aristocratic background, educated, well-behaved personality like Srila Bhakti Maharaj. Till today, no one has joined in ISKCON society. Srila Bhakti Maharaj and Srila Subhakshay Maharaj, the parents from Bangladesh, has not taken birth. The Maharaj, he behaves, he deals with the people in such a sweet way that nobody can become his enemy. And been working with him as a GBC member, I have seen how he deals with the people. People are very much against Maharaj. They speak bad about Maharaj in front of everybody, but the way Maharaj smilingly, very nicely, he deals with them. He really conquers the heart of the people. So that is the greatness of His Holiness the Bhakti Maharaj. And everybody can recognize his sweet voice, his sweet kirtan, his sweet katha, his sweet form. And that reminds me Madhuram, that everything is Madhuram with Bhakti Maharaj. And his eating also very sweet also. His cooking is very sweet also, best cook, and he knows best how to eat also. And if something goes wrong in the cooking, he really becomes very angry with that person. And he'll blast him in front of everybody. That will be, he's very soft person and sometimes very strong person. See, sometimes he uses such a strong word, chastising his disciples or whoever serves Bhakti Maharaj. So in this way, he has conquered the heart of everybody. People have told me just seen him in the airport. Just by seeing once how they are impressed by him. To our bad fortune, Maharaj left us. Actually, Maharaj has not started preaching in Bengal. Most of the time he spent in Western countries. Then I used to ask Maharaj, you are from Bengal, but they are not giving time. Then he used to say, oh, your Guru Maharaj is preaching, so I am staying in foreign countries. My Guru Maharaj is a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj. Then after His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj had these physical problems, then Maharaj had just started preaching. He just started preaching. All high class people, rich people, as Gauranga was telling, aristocratic rich people, families are coming. One day I was with His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, Maharaj, the Jayapataka was telling the Bhakti Maharaj that you preach to the class, when class people, I preach to the mass and for everybody. That's a very good combination. Class preaching and mass preaching also. So now we lost Maharaj, and also that's a thing that as Prabhupada tree, best fruit, Srila Bhakti Maharaj will behave and everything. And that also I see within his disciples. The way they treat to others, the way they speak to others, they have inherited the quality
of His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj. In generations down, we have this qualified devotees. So, as Garam Guru said, very sad that Maharaj left us abruptly. Otherwise, ISKCON could have achieved so much things. And I have seen personally when we go through big crisis time, so much conflict, then Maharaj come forward, then he speaks. There's any conflict, any problems, with invisibility, they go to Maharaj. Please go speak to him. And with sweet words, we used to achieve a lot. Now, we are deprived of association of Maharaj. But wherever Maharaj is now, I pray Maharaj that he will let us speak to have his merciful glance and upon us, bless us, that we will try to follow his footsteps and whatever unfinished projects he has, that will be completed for his satisfaction. Thank you so much. The Bhakti Maharaj ki, the Prabhupada ki.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite Maharaj Prabhu to the stage. Maharaj Prabhu. Okay, I see. Thank you. After Maharaj Prabhu, I invite His Holiness Bibi Govinda Maharaj to speak. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So, my name is Maharaj Das. First of all, I'm taking my selection of great saints, Vaishnavas, my seniors, my gurus, asking for their permission to speak. I'm here to represent the disciples of Bhakti Swami, particularly. I'm going to switch my hands here. Okay. Thank you. Forgive me for a moment. I'm here to represent the disciples of Bhakti Swami, following in the footsteps of my esteemed, wonderful godbrother, Bhakti Damodar Swami. And so, particularly, I spoke to the senior disciples of Bhakti Swami, Braja Leela and Ekabir Prabhu, who are longtime attendants of Bhakti Swami, some of his closest servants, and to Dhruva and Parij Prabhu, who are the most capable stewards of Gitanagari in Pennsylvania. And they quite intelligently gave me a note to read, because they said we can't trust Madhvacharya because he's kind of a foolish dude, and so they gave me a note to read so that I wouldn't ad lib too much. So I'm going to read this wonderful message that they composed. Thank you. Yes, I'll try. So, dear devotees, friends, and well-wishers, today we gather to honor the life of His Holiness Bhakti Swami, a shining example of Vaishnava compassion, dignity, and loyalty. As we reflect on his legacy,
One profound and deeply touching chapter stands out, and that's what I'll be speaking on: his enduring friendship and service to His Holiness Bhakti Swami. Bhakti Swami was more than a godbrother to Bhakti Swami. He was a true friend, a spiritual confidant, and a lifelong supporter of his mission. Their service together was marked not only by alignment in purpose, but by genuine affection and deep mutual respect. They served side by side as GBCs, where they demonstrated how godbrothers can cooperate with humility and grace. Their unity was not superficial. It was rooted in their shared commitment to Srila Prabhupada and their understanding that spiritual progress is built on trust, support, and service to one another. Bhakti Charu Swami personally hosted Bhakti Tirtha Swami in his own quarters whenever he visited Mayapur, ensuring his comfort and care. This wasn't a duty, it was a gesture of love. He championed Bhakti Tirtha Swami's progressive outreach to diverse communities and understood the heart behind his mission to share Krishna consciousness in a way that brought healing, empowerment, and transformation. As Bhakti Tirtha Swami neared his departure from this world, Bhakti Charu Swami stood by him and his disciples with unwavering love. After Bhakti Tirtha Swami's passing, Bhakti Charu Swami became a cherished Shiksha Guru to many of his disciples, gently guiding them through grief, growth, and deeper service. He didn't just speak words, he built legacies. He personally designed and sponsored the construction of Bhakti Tirtha Samadhi in Mayapur, and he also designed and sponsored the Pushpa Samadhi at Deland, where Bhakti Tirtha Swami spent his final months, ensuring that there would be sacred places where the hearts of his followers could gather in remembrance. Year after year, Bhakti Charu Swami returned to Deland to hold retreats, nourishing the community and honoring the vision Bhakti Tirtha Swami left behind. As part of his offering to the deities in Deland and the spiritual culture of Deland, he sponsored and installed the beautiful Simhasana for Sri Sri Radha Damodar there. Many of you have been to Deland and seen this beautiful Simhasana for Sri Sri Radha Damodar. It is crafted from teak, finished with gold leaf and painted pearl white. It was handmade in Ujjain. He also gifted a new Simhasana for Srila Prabhupada in Deland, once again dignified in rich brown teak and gold. Another expression of his devotion to the Acharya, both he and Bhakti Tirtha Swami lived to serve. In all of these ways, Bhakti Tirtha Swami showed us what real friendship looks like. He preserved the dignity of his godbrother, honored his memory, protected his disciples, and carried forth his legacy. Today, as we honor Bhakti Charu Swami, let us remember him not only as a learned scholar, a refined gentleman, and beloved spiritual guide, but also as a loyal friend, a servant of the servant in the most sacred sense. May we learn from his humility, his grace, and his devotion to those he loved. May we carry his legacy forward with the same integrity and warmth that he carried the legacy of his beloved Guru, Srila Prabhupada, and his friend Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for the Homeless his way to the stage. I'd like to ask His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj to speak next.
Namo Vishnu Vishnu Krishna Bhutale
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Charane. Namaste Shasuni Bhakti. Chakalpatarudyascha Vipassanyute Puja Titanand Vaneyo Vaishnaviyo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaidya Shri Vasudeva Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. It is a great honor to be here today for this function with His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, and to be in the association of so many of my exalted God brothers and God sisters, and so many Vaishnavas who have come here to honor Maharaj. My acquaintance with His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj began in Vrindavan in 1977. I had been serving in the Toronto Temple, but in July I went to Vrindavan to serve there. And as I was a cook, I began to cook for ISKCON Vrindavan the day after I arrived in Vrindavan. This was before Srila Prabhupada and his plans to leave for his final tour to the West. And we devotees in Vrindavan, we were dreading Srila Prabhupada's departure. We were feeling that if he did take this trip to the West, we would never see him again. At that time I saw this young, effulgent sannyasi, a person who had been initiated in second initiation, sannyas initiation, also quickly. And the time came during the end of August that year, one evening, very drizzly evening in Vrindavan, when Srila Prabhupada left for that last preaching mission. His divine grace was so weak that he had to be carried on palanquin with his car. And when he was placed in his car, he couldn't sit. He had to lay on his seat to go for this journey. And of course, Vrindavan then and Vrindavan now are not the same. The road in front of the temple was basically a dirt road with many holes in it. It was rainy season, lots of mud. And the highway to Delhi was basically the same. But Srila Prabhupada left in the middle of the night for his journey. And we all offered our obeisances in the mud, thinking that we would never see his divine grace again. As I was the cook, I decided that I would do some seva and go to Srila Prabhupada's kitchen the next morning and clean after his entourage had left. And when I entered the kitchen, I found that young, effulgent sannyasi sitting in Srila Prabhupada's kitchen, weeping and weeping and weeping. I didn't know who he was, but I knew it was my duty to try to comfort him
in some way. So I sat down next to him and I put my arm around him and I said, Maharaj, what is the problem? And he could hardly speak because he was crying so much. And he told me, I was supposed to go with Srila Prabhupada. I wanted to be with Srila Prabhupada so badly, but my passport was not arranged in time. So I stayed with him for some time and said some words to comfort him. And then a smile came on his face. He said, thank you very much. And he said, I feel somewhat better now. And he left the kitchen and I continued to clean the kitchen. That was the beginning of our relationship. And then when Srila Prabhupada returned from the West, it was a very different situation. When Srila Prabhupada returned from the West, it was like the beginning of ISKCON again. We read the accounts that in the beginning Srila Prabhupada's doors were always open, and people could always go and sit in his room and speak. I can remember in one account, His Holiness Mukunda Maharaj said, Srila Prabhupada was a very patient listener. And in the end, the doors were always open, and we could always enter the room. We would finish our service, we would go in, we would participate in the bhajan, or we would chant japa. And I always saw His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj very tenderly serving Srila Prabhupada. At that time, there was a team of wonderful devotees around Srila Prabhupada, trying to care to his every single need. There were big lions of devotees, but among those great lions of devotees, there was this very gentle sannyasi. And I don't know who of you have listened to the 1977 conversation tapes. If you haven't listened, you should. You should start in January and go all the way to the time of Srila Prabhupada's departure. And you can hear how the devotees were always trying to make arrangements for Srila Prabhupada, what he wanted. They were trying their best to fulfill. But it seems that whenever Srila Prabhupada was at a point of despair, of frustration with his condition deteriorating, that he could no longer travel and preach, Srila Prabhupada would always say, please call Bhakti Charu. And on the tapes you can hear Bhakti Charu Maharaj come and very sweetly comforting Srila Prabhupada in Bengali language. That was the beginning of our relationship. And I never had the honor to serve in a project with Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. We sat across the table from one another in the GBC for many years. I should say that was the best part of the GBC meeting. Going there, there was always the anticipation that Bhakti Charu Maharaj would invite you for lunch, because you knew it would be something Bengali world class, as His Holiness Purushottam Maharaj was saying. He was always kind. He was always loving. He was always compassionate. He was always humane. And I can see that that's something of compassion and the mission of true humanity, being fair to everyone accepting everyone, not looking at people in a discriminatory way, but opening the heart to each and every person to come and accept Krishna consciousness. I heard that when Srila Prabhupada was asked what is the definition of a Vaishnava, Srila Prabhupada said a Vaishnava is a perfect gentleman. And I think all of us can attest to the fact that His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj was a true Vaishnava because he was a perfect gentleman. So as my godbrothers and others have offered prayer, I also offer the prayer to Srila Bhakti Swami Maharaj that he will bestow his grace upon me and he will bestow his grace upon all of us. That we can come to that point of seeing things from the perspective of love, compassion, and humanity as we continue our service to our spiritual masters and to the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. Shri Bhakti Swami Maharaj ki, Shri Prabhupada ki.
I invite His Holiness Maharaj to the stage. Bhakti Srila Prabhu, each one, Prabhupada. Thank you.
Namavam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Kaundavani Kuchari Nirvishesha Shundivani Vaskati Vanchakalpati Yascha Kripa Sindhu Yadvacha Vatipanam Tapani Vaishnavi. I am sincerely honored and grateful to lead this very sacred occasion of inaugurating this beautiful monument for Charu Swami. Much has been spoken, and limitlessly more could be spoken about the life, the example, and the legacy of Charu Swami. Thank you for editing me. Is it better? The history of Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj with Srila Prabhupada personally and the great accomplishments that he offered to Srila Prabhupada in the years in separation are something that I'm praying our society will forever
Who can understand the first year he came into the movement, at a time when ISKCON, 1976-77, the senior most devotees were there around Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada personally invited him to do his correspondence in India. He personally invited him to translate all his books in the Bengali language. Personally invited him to come to be his personal servant at a time when it was the most difficult and greatest need. And during that year, Srila Prabhupada gave him first initiation, second initiation, and sannyas. He was in the innermost core of the circle of Srila Prabhupada's personal assistants. His heart, as His Holiness B.B. Govinda Maharaj has so eloquently and heartfelt explained, Bhakti Charu Maharaj had such love for Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada had such love for him. And it's so rare. Very few people had those interactions with him. But actually, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, his spirit, as the years went by, was in the love and the encouragement that Srila Prabhupada gave him. He accepted that he was accepting it on behalf of everyone else. And Srila Prabhupada entrusted such special, intimate pastimes with him to share with others. Actually, any one of us, if we sincerely appreciate it, then we are receiving that same spirit of Srila Prabhupada's compassion and his love for Srila Prabhupada. In 1994, I was invited by Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj to stay in his room with him in my GBC meeting. And we slept on the floor next to each other every night. We did this for several years, the two of us in the room. And around midnight, sometimes I would wake up and he would not be there. And I'd look around and I'd see in a little office next to the room, he was dictating translations of Srila Prabhupada's books in Bengali. And as far as I know, 365 days a year, whatever he was doing, he would be up at midnight, following the same type of schedule as Srila Prabhupada. The way Srila Prabhupada translated into English, he was translating from English to Bengali. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Srila Prabhupada translated from Bengali to English. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj, under his instruction, was translated from English to Bengali. This was very intimate service. Bengali is Srila Prabhupada's native language, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of our acharyas' native language. And he was only a devotee for a few months when he was given that service. What did Srila Prabhupada see in this great saint's heart? One night, I had a very severe health crisis. There was an asthma attack due to some flowers growing in my foot, and I was actually a thread away from death. I couldn't breathe. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj, there was nothing anybody could do. He was just sitting next to me chanting, hour after hour. And I said, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, it's time for you to be translating Srila Prabhupada's books. That's what you do every night. You've dedicated everything. You can't miss that. Somehow or other, if I live or die, I'll be all right. And tears in his eyes, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he held my hand. He said, Srila Prabhupada would rather have me with you, taking care of his devotee. That was his spirit. He loved and cared for all the devotees in our movement with such humility and genuine compassion. He was softer and sweeter than a rose, but he was also harder than a thunderbolt in those rare occasions where it was required. Where it was needed and where he could best serve, I saw Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. He was unyieldingly firm that justice be done. But with knowing that as a pure, unconditional representative of Sri, how could anyone build a magnificent carved marble temple in a place there's never been a temple, Jain, in 9 months and 20 days? He went to Ujjain. Gauranga Prabhu so nicely described how he got that land. But after he got that land, the chief minister was switched, and the new person did not want to help. But he just pushed forward. From the time of the groundbreaking Bhumi Puja to the time of the Prana Pratishtha, with devotees from all over the world. From the time of putting a hole in the ground to begin, and the final product, which brought celebrities from all over India and Vaishnavas from all over the planet in 9 months. It's never been done before, and I don't think it will be done again. And it's not that he had international support. It was just Bhakti Charu Maharaj and his devotees who were inspired by his love for Srila Prabhupada and his love for the Vaishnavas and the people of the world. I don't want to take much time, but I'll tell one small story. Because I'm seeing His Holiness Nachinaya Swami Maharaj, Bhakti Purusha Maharaj, if I remember right, all 4 of us were together at that Ratha Yatra. Was it in Berlin? Cologne, yes. You were there, yes. This Ratha Yatra, it was a massive rainstorm. The rain was pouring down. And the streets, in some places, they were flooding. And after the Ratha Yatra, there was a stage performance. People are just sitting in the water in the rain. It's really quite amazing. And we were chanting and dancing together. And after that, we're taking prasad in tents. The type of tents only on the top, small ones. There's tables. And 5 of us,
sitting at this little tiny table, and there's winds, and the tents are almost flying down. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj, as we're taking the prasad together, he said, we were really happy, chanting, dancing, and feasting in the water. He said, let us chant, dance, and feast in the ocean. There's the most water. Where's this going? He said, I am going to rent an ocean liner cruiser to go in the ocean from country to country, and we'll invite devotees, and we'll all chant and dance and feast for a couple weeks. And he's saying this with so much enthusiasm, and actually we just wanted to get out of the water. He said, do I have your promise that you will come if I get this boat? And this sounded like such a dream. We didn't even consider whether it could possibly happen. We all just said, yes, 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 whatever you said. He said, no, I need your promise. You give me the word. So we all gave our words. And a couple months later, we get the news that, you have your room reserved on this ocean liner. And I'll never forget, I had to fly from India, and I arrived in London, and they said, you have to go right to the ocean liner now. And as we're going, I see a newspaper stand in London, and it says, today is the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. At the Southampton docks. That's where it that's where it left from. So I didn't know where we were going. But they drove me, and I see a sign, the Southampton docks. And then I get it. It was the same dock that the Titanic left from 180 years from that day. And there was a newspaper article in the boat as I'm sitting, and it said that a boat just sunk in Italy a few days before. And then it said, and the identical sister boat of that boat, it said the name, and it was the boat we were on. How auspicious is that? And this huge ocean liner, we were not the only ones on, but I think there were a few hundred devotees, like 1,000 other people. But he arranged a whole section of it, and we were cooking wonderful prasad and chanting, dancing, feasting, lectures all the way. And we went from Southampton docks to Amsterdam and to Guernsey and to 2 or 3 places in France and then to Spain. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj was saying to everyone. And those who are in need sometimes get the most mercy. As soon as the boat left the port, I got seasick, severely seasick. And when he heard about it, he was like getting me medicine and he wanted to massage and he was like a mother. And he was actually like that for everyone. Yes, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, when you think of his television series and his dramas and his books and his translations and his projects and his cultural presentations, melting kirtans,
still, as Madhvacharya Prabhu and the Gita Nagari devotees so beautifully described, he was the most loving, kind, faithful friend and well-wisher. And when I read Srila Prabhupada's letters and see him sign your ever well-wisher, I really believe that Bhakti Charu Swami gave his life and soul to be a representative of Srila Prabhupada's ever well-wisher to us and to the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Watching at the moment, first I'm going to read a poem that was written by His Grace Yogeshwar Prabhu. He spent a lot of time with Srila Prabhupada. On behalf of him, I will read it. The Whispered Truth for Bhakti Charu Maharaj. The whispered truth is told both far and near. It's heard when faithful meet to think of him. It penetrates remembrance loud and clear, a eulogy bestowed by Sarah. Not pride, but fertile confidence behind his name. The scholar clothed in Prabhupada's life. Sanskrit's maze he humbly chose to stand. Student, servant, beacon in the night. His voice, though whispered soft as Ganges' flow, conveyed a force that comes when worlds collide. He spoke of love that grows and modes will know, the joy of service, pure and sanctified. When others pushed, he simply bowed and gave the gift of bhakti, free without demand. A soul of calm, of glee, and yet so brave. He scattered faith like seeds upon the land. What is the measure of a saintly soul? Not wealth of fame or fleeting earthly praise. It is to serve, to make what's broken whole, to raise up downturned eyes, the boundless sky. While Vrindavan now owns his smiling face, his countenance still burns away the haze. The lamp he lit still shines with steady grace, its flame unquenched through Kali's darkest days. And we, who walk where once his feet had been, recall the whispered truth he spoke so long. Serve, dear ones, with hearts made humble, pure and clean, and raise this whispered truth to joyous song. With all my love, Yogeshwara. Now, I will invite His Grace Bhakti Sringa Prabhu to the stage. And I ask for on this Advaita Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. You can all say with me. Hare Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Chari Yad Vishesha Shunivani Vastita. We've been blessed with the crown jewel of Vaishnavism in Srila Prabhupada. He came, he manifested his glories. Just like a jewel will emanate different shades of light and reflection, Srila Prabhupada's heart reflects all the qualities of the pure Vaishnava. And when you take that crown jewel and you put it in a setting, it becomes even more beautiful. And when you add in smaller jewels to that setting, it becomes even more beautiful. So many wonderful jewels of devotees have come to help Srila Prabhupada fulfill his mission to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the spreading of the holy name throughout the entire world in every town and village. One such unique, glorious jewel is His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami. Right from the beginning, he was a unique and qualified devotee. Around February of 1977, Prabhupada endowed him with the first and second initiation, and shortly thereafter, and Prabhupada didn't do this in Snan Yatra of 1977. There's a nice little statement here. In the sacred dust of Vrindavan, under the gaze of Krishna Balaram on the holy day of Snan Yatra 1977, a gentle soul stepped into the fire of renunciation. Bhakti Charu Das, already twice initiated by Srila Prabhupada that very year, now offered his life at the lotus feet of his spiritual master, not as a distant servant, but as an engaged sannyasi, a wandering monk, cloaked in saffron, carrying nothing but devotion and the order to serve. With the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra and tears in the eyes of the faithful, Srila Prabhupada bestowed the staff of renunciation and a name that would echo across continents, Bhakti Charu Swami. Bhakti Charu Swami, I have the great fortune to have his association. It's described in Shastra 111 of a second of association of pure devotee. Is very profound. So my first encounter with him was in New York Temple when he came, and the impression that I got from him, and I maintained that impression throughout all of my encounters with him, was he was personification of kindness. He was such a kind and gentle soul. I'll give you an example. I have an elder sister. She gave birth to 4 boys. 3 of them passed away while she was a young mother on separate occasions. One such occasion when she passed away, she was, I told her the body should be cremated and we'll put it in the sacred water. And she, as you can imagine, those of you that are mothers and fathers, you can imagine the pain that this spirit soul was experiencing. Bhakti Charu Swami happened to be at the Tuaco temple, and I asked him, can you kindly speak with my sister? She's going through a lot of suffering right now. Immediately he agreed. Yes, I'll speak with her. So I brought her in, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj spoke with her, emanating that force of kindness, that force of compassion. And he heard her story, and he gave her consoling words. And, I said to him, I would like to put the ashes of the child into the sacred rivers of India, but I can't get there. And Maharaj said, wherever there's water, you chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and you release the ashes of it. That was just one of his many displays of kindness to me and to all the devotees. Another instance, I remember, even when he was chastising, he was so kind, you could never say anything. He was in North Carolina, I was living in North Carolina, and when he came to North Carolina, we were very excited. And I said, Maharaj, please stay here. We really need you. Your presence and the presence of your devotees and the kirtan, Bengali style kirtan, will be so enlivening for the devotees here in North Carolina. And he said, yes, I'll stay, I promise. But then he decided later on that they had to move. They were doing the Bliss Bar factory, and they were going to move to New Vrindavan. So my name is Lakshmi Shringa, and I have a Lakshmi side, I have a Shringa side. So I couldn't restrain my Shringa side. I went to Bhakti Maharaj and told, you promised, you got to stay, you can't go. I was so distraught because having his association and having the association of the brahmacharis that were doing such nice kirtan, and the very thought of him leaving. So I was probably a little offensive in that regard. I was angry, I didn't want to lose this association. My godbrothers know that, when we're out in the world trying to make a living, trying to do so many things, when you have good association, you want to cling to that association. And I was clinging. I didn't want to lose that association. So I got angry with him. And I was kind of chastening him. You can't go, you promised, etc. So I thought he was going to respond heavily. He just looked at me and he smiled. He said, Lakshmi, I'll always be with you. Don't worry. Just think. Well, listen, association, don't worry. With that little smile on his face, immediately the anger goes away. Charmed again by Bhakti Charu Swami. One time I was taking lunch with him. There were several godbrothers. We were sitting at a table at the Brooklyn Temple in the basement. And I think it was Palika was cooking, and she made this amazing meal, and we were all taking prasadam. And just to watch him, he was the crown jewel of etiquette. He was pushing Vaishnava etiquette. He gave lectures and seminars on Vaishnava etiquette, and we so desperately needed it in ISKCON. So we were sitting, godbrothers were sitting around the table, I won't say any names, and we were taking prasadam, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj was sitting to my right, and there's another godbrother who was sitting to my left, and out of the blue, Bhakti Charu Swami leaned over so he could see past me to my godbrother that was sitting next to me. So he had to look around me, and he said, please don't do your kirtan like you learned in Bangladesh, where you were holding the notes. Please, Prabhupada did not like that. And he had that little smile on his face. And I was thinking, who else could chastise someone so heavily about his service and so sweetly as Bhakti Charu Maharaj did? So his kindness was always there, and I witnessed it on many occasions. And prior to Srila Prabhupada's departure, I went to Vrindavan, and I saw Bhakti Charu Swami there, and I told him, I said, I'm really distressed. The very thought of Prabhupada leaving. I said, I've done so little for Prabhupada. I've had so little of his association. I don't know what to do. I really feel like I've missed a golden opportunity. And he told me, he said, do not worry. He said, Prabhupada loves you, and he will show you his love. Now, in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali says, for one who always speaks truth, their words come true. So, I was going in to see Srila Prabhupada. We were allowed to go in and chant some japa, etc. One day, there was four desires I had to be with Srila Prabhupada. And I didn't think those four desires would ever be fulfilled. First one, of course, was to chant japa with Prabhupada. So we were allowed to go and chant japa with Srila Prabhupada. Desire one. Second desire was to massage Srila Prabhupada. I was always so envious of the devotees that had an opportunity to massage the lotus body of Srila Prabhupada, the soft lotus petal body of Srila Prabhupada. And one time I was sitting there, and Bhavananda Prabhu comes up and says, would you like to massage Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet? And I said, are you kidding me? Yes. So he brought me to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, and I was able to massage his lotus feet. Desire 2. Desire 3, I always wanted to chant for Srila Prabhupada, just me and him. Again, Bhavananda came up to me one day, and he said, we're trying to have 24-hour kirtan for Srila Prabhupada. Would you like to chant for Prabhupada from 12 midnight to 3 a.m.? And I said, absolutely. He said, just bring small kartals. So I went in, and I was chanting, Hare Krishna, or just the regular Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So I was chanting for 2 hours. So that was desire 3. Desire 4 is I want always to be chastised by Prabhupada. Devotees who've been chastised by Prabhupada, they said it's the most delightful experience. So while I was chanting Hare Krishna, somehow my fickle mind, I started chanting, because in ISKCON there was always trends of mantras to chant. So the trend at this point was Brahma Bole Chaturmukhe Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. That was the trend. So I was chanting Hare Krishna, and then I went into that. Now it was me and Prabhupada, no one else. It was very dark in the room. I thought Prabhupada was just sound asleep. As soon as I uttered that, the first line of that mantra, Prabhupada's hand went up. Like a traffic policeman, stopping roars of traffic in New York City. That hand went up, and all the air went out of my throat. Stunned and frozen. But I knew Prabhupada chastised me for being whimsical and chanting kirtan. So, how did I get that blessing? Kindness of Bhakti Maharaj. He said, Srila Prabhupada will show you his love. He loves you. He will show you his love. And then shortly thereafter, every desire I had in relationship to Srila Prabhupada was fulfilled. That is the kindness of the heart of Bhakti Charu Swami. He always looked after me. When I went to Mayapur, he'd have me stay with him because he knew I loved Bengali cooking. And we would do kirtan every night. I'm so grateful to Srila Prabhupada that he has blessed me with the association of Bhakti Charu Swami and all my god brothers and god sisters and god nieces and nephews, because even scientifically they have proven that the key component to happiness is relationships. Every single study out of Harvard, Yale, etc., on what is objectively the components of happiness, it's relationship. And look what Srila Prabhupada has given us in the form of a relationship. To have someone in our midst like Bhakti Charu Swami and all of these beautiful souls. And that is our happiness. Hare Krishna.
I have an important announcement, but I need to unlock this phone. So, before you gave me the phone, before you gave me the phone, please come on. There's 2 cars that are blocking the driveway. So don't you park right in the entrance of the parking lot there. 1 car is a Ford, I remember that. 1 car is a Toyota. I don't have the license plate numbers. So, if you know you park there, please move your vehicles. There you go. Thank you. There it is. Thank you. Okay. Toyota KR325Z. We have a bingo. KR325Z. A white Toyota of some. That one? Okay. Also a blue Ford. Oh my God, is that GOD? I think it's 6OD. 6ODFRD. 6ODFRD. Blue Ford. I invite His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj to the stage. and His Holiness Chandramani Maharaj, if you would stand by. Thank you.
I'm going to follow Ruda Prabhu and Mata Charger Prabhu by speaking well Spanish for pragmatic reasons. After lunch, my energy plummets, and that was a really good lunch. Someone talked about the last time they met, but Maharaj only speaking broad and vague outline. The last time you met was here in Deland. And we were talking, and I said something that really angered him. I'm not going to tell you the content. How about that? I said something that really angered him, and because I can do that, I have like Indradumna Maharaj. Every time he speaks, it will be like honey. It will just be like nectar flowing from the womb. It would be so sweet. And just to create balance in the universe, I have the opposite tendency. So I said something that's really provoked him, and he once protested, and I thought, and now I really done it, and I was falling all over myself to take part and so on. I haven't intended to offend him, and I think he was offended. And of course, it didn't carry on. Or what would you say, less embarrassing memories. We heard about the course that he taught at the Deland Institute in Vaishnava, and it's just been mentioned. It was such an enlightening course. It was, I've been in ISKCON for so many years, and I didn't know anything. I had some philosophy, I worked with books, but in terms of culture, in terms of how a human being should act, I really didn't know very much at all. So, and Bhakti Maharaj just gave such clear instructions of simple everyday things, principles of how Vaishnavas should act, practical things, given broad principles of how we should act. And it was just so wonderful. Partly it was wonderful because the instructions were so wonderful, and partly it was wonderful just to hear Bhakti Maharaj, whatever he would speak about, just to hear him speak was so wonderful. He's, when I think of what a saintly person is, when I think of what an angelic person is, then I think of Bhakti Charu, because his character, his nature was so endearing and so sweet. I recall on other occasions, I guess I'll say again, how I was in Vrindavan with Prabhupada in his last month. I don't remember where he'd been. But he arrived at Kingston in the middle of the night, and he came into Prabhupada's room and offered Prabhupada. And then he was speaking with Prabhupada in such a soft and soothing and gentle way that I didn't know what he was saying. It was all thank God. But I could understand that how much love was there and how much of a desire to be of service to Prabhupada in those very most difficult times. And my understanding then that this is the mood of the real disciple. This is how a real disciple feels about his spiritual. It's not just a visual relationship. It's not just so grateful to be able to keep teaching, but it's heartfelt dedication and heartfelt love for spiritualness. The Bhakti Charu should always personify that spirit of love and dedication to the institution of Prabhupada. Another incident mentioned earlier was when Bhakti Charu was the chairman, and he was working with a small committee group on the approach GPT executive to stop the sale of a temple in Brooklyn. And it was an opportunity for me to associate with them. And I have this anti-establishment tendency, and it was wonderful because I got to fight the establishment by joining the establishment. Bhakti Charu was the chairman, and our job, in one sense, was to steer the matter past the establishment so that it could succeed. I won't go into the details, but that was the brief, how to keep it in that little committee. That the committee reported to the GBC 1 year. The project is going fine. You don't have to do anything. End of report. But that was the goal. No one should monkey with what was going on. So that aside, then there came that meeting that Guru Granth spoke about, and there Bhakti Charu was so strong. Everything was scripted for that meeting. Everybody had something to say. It was carefully worked out before. It was all you had to do is read your paper. You had time limits and all of that. And somebody asked a question, and Bhakti Charu just went totally off script. 100% off script, because he became so strong on the principle that these are Prabhupada's temples, and therefore all of Prabhupada's devotees, and no one can be banned from these temples, and you have to do something about this. I promise you we'll act on this. And I say this not as Bhakti Charu Swami, but as chairman of the governing body of the mission. It was totally strong. And he'd said, because usually, we're always hearing about how soft he was, how gentle, how like a lotus, and mild, and all of those wonderful saintly qualities that a Vaishnava has. But he also used to sometimes say that I'm just Prabhupada's dog. And when there's some intruder, there's some disturbance in the master's house, the dog has to bark. And he took that up very, very, very strongly. I don't want to go into more of the history because now it's history. Good as history. But the like the brother for the I think there's the Prabhupada Nolan and this and still he's available. There's so many, thank you, technology. There's so many lectures and so many kirtans, and we can associate them because the physical association will be sometimes, but association will be Hare Krishna.
Thank you, gentlemen. Absolutely wonderful. We have two speakers left. Before, I'll invite on this. Turn it on, slowing up now. So after him, we'll have one more speaker, and then a little comedy presentation, then a few thank yous, and then we'll make our way over to the money.
Thought I had. Huh? Oh, this mic. Yeah.
The sister ship sunk 1 year earlier in Italy. Wow, I mean, we turned around. We were a little apprehensive, but with Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, Jayadvaita Maharaj was there, Malati was there, Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj was there, and Satyananda Maharaj was also there. So it was a wonderful excursion. We went all over and the different countries and did Harinam everywhere. It was unique. It was really unique. And that was Bhakti Charu Maharaj. He would think outside of the box how to spread Krishna consciousness in a way that wasn't done before. And he was always thinking how to please Srila Prabhupada by giving Krishna consciousness to others. In the year 2001, he came to Chicago. I was the resident sannyasi. I was never there. That's why they called me the unresident resident. And he came, and that was the time when there was that supposedly planes crashed into the Twin Towers in New York. We were together. We watched it on television together. And then we had heard afterwards that now it's a very tense time in America. Many of the airports' securities were tripled. Some airports were not even allowing planes to go out. And then Bhakti Charu Maharaj was scheduled to leave the next day. So I said to him, Maharaj, it's not a good time to travel. He looked at me like Nrsingadev looks at Harikashi. It was like that. And I almost fell down. And he looked at me and he said, a coward dies 1,000 deaths. A hero dies once. All I could do was look at my face. And that was Maharaj. You know, there was nothing that he was going to do to interrupt his service to Shiva. He was fearless. We heard of how he, of course, I don't know all the details. Jayadvaita Maharaj is proficient in doing complete overview of what happened, but how he was such fiery and establishing Srila Prabhupada's desire to keep that temple in New York. He was like, people say he was like the Srinivas. And this, you hear this in the Shastras, that a great soul, soft as a rose, hard as a thunderbolt, on this necessary. That is a quality of a great soul. Bhakti Charu Maharaj had both in what we might say separately. So I'll just end with one, and this kind of awakened to me when I heard Guru speak about how after Bhakti Charu Maharaj had left, it was like nothing could function. I was listening, following carefully, getting all the information about Maharaj's situation in Florida here with his health. And I was sure, I was 100% sure he was going to get through. He was going to be with us. I had no doubt. But then when the news came, my surety was not challenged, but it went to another realm. And what was that realm was, he didn't leave. It's a mistake. This is not true. And I actually convinced myself that he did not leave. And I was thinking, I'll just go to Mayapur and I'll see him again. It was such a devastating feeling that it was, as Guru Varuna really, with so much heart, I was feeling similarly that it's not possible. But the Supreme Lord, whatever he does or what he ever allows to happen is perfect. So, therefore, we can carry his legacy on by learning what he wanted to teach us in our own practice of Krishna consciousness, especially being fearless in spreading Krishna consciousness. Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Much appreciated. Before we get to our final speaker, His Holiness Maharaj, just very the organizers here in the land wanted to do a special gift for all Srila Prabhupada's disciples. So they contacted Ujjain, who, as you know, does beautiful work in terms of deities and altars and all sorts of things. I'm opening this bag. And each Prabhupada disciple here today will get this. What is this? Open this up. They thought it was cellophane and it was paper. Hold on. Okay. Jane painstakingly rendered this because they were asked to do it in as small way as possible so the people, so you disciples could carry this with you, which is the truth. On this little square of Prabhupada's lotus feet, I want you to see this up on the camera with a large screen because it's very challenging to do this kind of work in such a small canvas, as it were. But Jane was up for the challenge. They wanted to do it, and they did just a beautiful job of doing the lotus feet the way they've done in for so many temples. They recreated it miraculously somewhat onto this small thing so that the organizers of this very festival can give it to you publicly. So all glories to the devotees in Ujjain. You'll be able to pick up your gifts when we get over to the monument very shortly. And to be sure, someone will personally hand you. And at this point, I would invite the conversation of Maharaj.
Yes. No, no, no. This is describing the anxiousness of
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. One moment, please. Yes. Here. The Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we find a very nice shloka. This verse, the meaning of a memorial service like we are doing is described. It is said, when we become mindful of the person which we love, then that person becomes present due to this mindfulness. We all know the relationship to Srila Prabhupada. There is a legacy of his videos, scriptures, memories of his disciples. And in this way, by cherishing these memories, he will be in some ways eternally amongst us. The same as there with His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. We all have heard now many things, and I would like to just share 3 Mahamantras in the melody which I was so fortunate to be with him in so many kirtans. He had one melody which I've tried to commit to memory. Please sing and enter the memory of this great soul, and this will make him present for you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Go Premanandi Hari. I have written some notes so that I will not be breaking into tears. Perhaps the most memorable thing which I can remember is how much Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj insisted that Srila Prabhupada is at the life of ISKCON and every devotee also. He was very insistent on it. And being a creative mind, I sometimes said after I heard the 1000th lecture number 1000, about the need to put him in the center, I said, we have understood it. Is it necessary to repeat it so much? Oh my God! He became so angry at me, although I was his friend. He said, you will see, unless this is established over and over and over again,
devotees will forget. So I think that perhaps more than many other contributions, Ujjain Temple, creative cruises, uh, book translations, and so on, is a legacy he gave and he established. I remember when we celebrated his Vyasa Puja and we were invited, and the next day was a yagya where that was in Bangladesh, where we all had to recommit our vows to Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful, wonderful. He would not miss a chance to again and again stress this. And perhaps there's a brief story. When Maharaj went on his search, you remember he left India, it's all in the Ocean of Mercy, and he traveled Europe. He describes how in Hamburg he was challenged. What is India's gift to the world? And then he thought, my God, I don't know this. And he made a study and became a searcher. He went all over. He went to Ananda Mahima, the famous Bengali mystic lady who had exalted states of samadhi, it is said, and she wanted to make him, there was talk of him becoming the secretary of this movement. No, later he met an exalted godbrother of Srila Prabhupada who requested him to translate his Gita into English. He said no, because his heart had been won over only by one personality, that is Srila Prabhupada. He described to me that his friend gave him a nectar of devotion in English language when, after a long journey of exploration, Maharaj came to Calcutta, and he read this nectar of devotion he read the whole night, and then he fell asleep. He slept, and then the next morning he continued. He read into the night, and then he had a dream. In the dream, he saw Srila Prabhupada sitting live on the Vyasasan like this, and he understood, he is my eternal master. And he threw himself down in the dream and expressed his full surrender. And then next morning or so, he went to Mayapur. He took away all his old clothes, put it on the bank of the Ganga, asked Baba to give him a good, full shave, and then he took his bath in the Ganga, and out comes the surrendered soul, Srila Prabhupada, something he never left. It's a glorious story of deliberate, thoughtful, informed surrender. And our previous speakers have described the glorious highlights of his life, what he did. And I will jump over this. But I want to just say, he deliberately, not due to social convention, understood the preeminent role of Srila Prabhupada, and he really, I think you all have heard his lectures, you have been in discussions with him. His disciples know it much better than any one of us. Oh, that was the point he made, a very strong point. There were many moments he had a relationship to Germany because he went to the University of Hamburg to study physics, and for that you need to learn the local language. So he never forgot his German language, and he came very often to Germany, and we formed was the preaching. He was doing preaching in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And because my service was to be a BBT translator, I helped him. The points he made were really not platitudes. They were very detailed presentation of Krishna consciousness. And that language is not in the language department of the University of Hamburg. So he needed someone who knows all the spiritual translations. And so he preached, and he preached so far and wide that the evangelical church became attentive to him. At that time, Krishna consciousness was feared by the evangelical church because they felt so many young people were attracted to Krishna consciousness. And one of our friendly contacts invited him to give a presentation in the Lion's Den, that is the evangelical church days. That's when all the churches, all the priests, all the theologians come together in one place. It was Frankfurt at that time, and they had discussions. And our friend, he was a professor of theology, said if anyone can convince them, it is Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So he was invited to give a presentation. It started with Jaiva Dhamma's analysis of the 5 states of human consciousness, and from there he went further into Bhakti and the need for Bhakti, which is found in all religions. He had sent me an English draft of what he was going to say, and had requested me to arrange for a translation, which he would then read out to all the lions and tigers of the evangelical church. Now, before that, we were in Austria, and to drive from Vienna to Frankfurt was a long drive. We started early in the day, and on the way, our car began to roar like a tank. There was a problem. I'm not a mechanic, so I can't tell you, but in the exhaustion fumes, they have to go a certain, after the benzene is burned, it has to go a certain way. And then that pipe through which it had to go was apparently broken, and we were losing the pipe. You can't continue to drive on German highways like that. So Maharaj said, what do we do now? Our car breaks down, and we have that lecture, which is so important in the evangelical church day. I said, Maharaj, let's be creative. So we took an Autobahn exit out, and it was Saturday, or at least a non-working day. We found a garage, but there was no one in the garage. So I said to Maharaj, I'm at the end of my creativity now. This is the time for Bhakti Charu Maharaj's creativity to enter the scene. So he began to think. Then he ordered the driver to drive the car on you have to help me. It is a hydraulic lift, which lifts the whole car. Then he went with his superfine dress for the evangelical church day and inspected the program, the problem, and said, bring me a tin. Like they have this Fanta drink as a refreshment, and it's tin can. Bring me a tin can. Okay, so that is available in all dustbins in Germany. So I got a tin can. So what will you do with a tin can? Just see. So he then got the upper part and the lower part out. He then separated the part, put the tin can there, bring me a wire. Okay, in an auto garage, the wire is to be found. He put the wire around, and with a beaming smile, he said, "Now it can go by Prabhupada's mercy." And I said, "I don't believe it," but because skeptical German minds, so so then we lowered the foolish thing down the car. And the driver he went into, and I thought, now this will explode, you know. I said, "Maharaj, let's run onto some safe distance, 50 meters, and so on." But the thing worked. It didn't make that tank, that sound, and it somehow you have a non-mechanistic Swami before you. I don't know what he did, but he did it. So we could drive speedily to Frankfurt. We, in the nick of time, I think we say in American English, we reached the speaker's podest and it became silent. A huge hall was filled with all these skeptical, evangelistic enemies of the Krishna consciousness movement. And he began to read, and then he put his manuscript aside and spoke from his heart. And in English, sometimes, sorry, in German, sometimes mixing English word in it, and sometimes looking for help for translation. And my dear devotees, this is not hagiography or the legends told about the saint which are not based in factual events. Everyone was charmed. One person started to clap hesitatingly because he was the only one. And then others joined the clap. Then the whole these theologians who were all in the anti-sect conviction before gave applause. Some of them even stood up, but quickly sat down when the colleagues left them. So this was Maharaj's, I would say, not just charm. Yes, he was charming, but there was a lot of teja, spiritual potency, and I believe it comes from this amazing heartfelt surrender to Srila Prabhupada. Then he just had opened the Deland community here. Maharaj somehow wanted to invite me, and I was praying, saying, "Maharaj, my schedule is full, where there's no time." But he said, "Please come." I thank the Lord that He made me change my schedule, because it was to be our last meeting. We would sit here, we would talk like friends. We would go there into this hut which is behind you. And I said, "Maharaj, can I make a video for my social media?" "Yes, you do, and I will sit and watch you." So we went to the carnival out, did our little nonsense, and came back and continued to talk late into the night. We talked about everything which God brothers talk, concerns, projections in the future, things to be careful of, delicate subject matters, like, is it all right to eat chocolate? Everything which friends share, but of course very intense subjects. Just a little later, I read one of his Vyasa Puja offerings, And in that offering, I felt, at least for me, I had made a completion with our transcendental relationship. I understood him. I understood also the remarks which he made. I think it was in this room, that he will not be much longer in this world. In this Vyasa Puja offering, he gives a beautiful example of the relationship between Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, and for that matter, the relationship of the truthful Guru to his disciples. He said, Srila Prabhupada, you have now left us, and you are beyond my vision, but I perceive you every day. You are like that mother who's hiding behind a curtain and lovingly calls to her little grown-up son, not grown-up, little son who's crawling on the floor. And the mother says, my dear, get up, walk, I'm here. What he wanted to say is that Srila Prabhupada had left his vision, he had left the world, but he could still call him. Hear his calling. Come, my dear son, come, mature, get up, walk now, and come to me. I'm just behind the curtain. When I heard this, it's a beautiful and moving analogy. Can you understand? Yes? Because I'm speaking to you in the German language with a tiny little bit of English accent, so it's not so difficult, not so easy to hear. This, the spiritual master is beyond our vision. He's in another realm. But those who are serious can hear him calling us, come, grow up, walk. And I think Bhakti Charu Maharaj is calling all his disciples now, come, I'm there, get up, walk. And his example calls, of course, all of us. There is a very moving tape of him, a recording of him. I think he spoke this during COVID time before he left for USA and Orlando, so that bed he would never leave physically, his deathbed. He said, of course, we all want to be surrounded with devotees when we die, but there may be a situation when there is not one single devotee at our deathbed. At that time, it is all about our relationship to Krishna. And I cherished this recording. Yeah, it was a little prophetic words about his own departure. I really appreciate all the offerings because they brought us back to Charu Maharaj so much nearer, and I can only repeat what others have said, so much more beautiful. He was a special soul. He is a special soul. He is dearly missed because he was walking Vaishnava, he was putting them into action. And he was caring, he was so caring. Once I was in the hospital, and really bad in the hospital. I mean, the health state was very bad, and I will end here. And the nurse comes in and says, there is someone calling from you. I said, I don't take any calls now. I'm too finished. He said, but he has called already the third time. He calls from Hong Kong. He never received a phone call from Hong Kong in his hospital. You have to take the Hong Kong. From Hong Kong? I don't know anyone from Hong Kong. No, come on, give up your sadness. And she brought the telephone in. Bhakti Charu Maharaj and put the telephone next to my thing, and I said, "Yes, who is it?" Click, click, click. How are you, Maharaj? And I said, how am I? I'm still alive, but almost dead. And then he was there. You do so much seva, and you must stay. Take courage, Prabhupada wants you. And this way he would talk. And I remember I cried like a little child, and I put the phone on the receiver. And a week later, a few days later, the same nurse comes in. There is a package from you from Hong Kong. I don't know anyone in Hong Kong. You know someone from Hong Kong? No, it can't be. So I took the package, I opened it. It was, you know, the Hong Kong factory fabrication Casio, the little Casio, a little thing which you make like, and it is a little computer, and you can type on it, you can make music on it, and you can phone on it, you can make yoga with it. It's all around Casio product, and I never use such things because I'm not technical enough. But I traveled with that little Casio present, the little gimmick from Hong Kong for 5 years. It was always in my luggage because it carried Bhakti Charu Maharaj's love. Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, oh,
Thank you, Maharaj, very, very much. Thank you. So, I would like to bring to the stage my senior godbrother's holiness, Bhakti Baba Maharaj, for some acknowledgements.
No, no. Hare Krishna. It doesn't work. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I'm on this Hare Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Pankar Kauta Vishana Kripa Srivedisha Patnam Bhavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah. I want to offer some thanks and appreciation from the disciples of Bhakti Charu Maharaj and the devotees here serving in Deland. It is heartrending to see that so many of Bhakti Charu Maharaj's co-brothers and senior devotees came to Deland. Bhakti Charu Maharaj legacy is an inheritance of devotion and pure love for Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Bhakti Charu's relationships with others were marked by constant caring and loving mood. His life was an emblem of Vaishnava etiquette. But on behalf of the disciples of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, I thank you very much for attending this event. It means a lot for us that each one of you is keeping the remembrance of this great servant of Srila Prabhupada in the core of your hearts. Please bless us that we may always keep our government's mood alive in our hearts and inherit his deep attachment to Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. Praying for your blessings, your servant in the name of the disciples of Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Okay, so the weather is threatening us. Therefore, we want to make sure we get to the monument. We're going to skip the comedy, and we're going to head over to the monument now. Now, for the Prabhupada disciples, please go on your left.
Krishna Krishna Krishna. Once everyone comes, then go together. Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama. हम आप पे डिपेंड है सब देखो. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna. So we will be starting the Sansara Dao, Guru Puja now. So we will request all the Srila Prabhupada disciples to come forward and sannyasis to come forward and offer the flowers. And we'll request everyone else to wait until they are done. And then you can come forward. Hare Krishna.
Mridanga and Kartal. Start, Mataji, start, please. Start.
संसारदावानललिधलोका प्रणयकारुण्या घन घनत्वा संसारदावानललिधलोका
प्राप्तस्य कल्याण गुणानवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणारविन्द
महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादिष्ठमा ज्ञान मनसुर सेना
महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादिष्ठमा ज्ञान मनसुर सेना
महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित्रमा ध्यान मनसुर सेना
महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित्रमा ज्ञान मनसुर सेना
रोमाञ्चकम्पा शुतरङ्ग भाजो वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द
रोमाञ्चकम्पा सुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्द
श्री विग्रहाराधन नित्य नाना शृङ्गार तन्मन्दिरमर्चनादो
श्री विग्रहाराधन नित्य नाना श्रृंगार तन्मन्दिरमर्चनादो
श्री विग्रहाराधन
तृप्त नरि भक्त सज्ञा
भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
दैव तृप्ते भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा वन्दे गुरो श्री
श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना
श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्य लीला गुणरूपनाम्ना
प्रतिक्षण स्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
प्रतिक्षणा साधनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
वन्दे गुरो श्री वन्दे गुरो श्री
वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
निकुञ्जयो नो रतिगिरिसिद्धैः यायालि भीतुके रक्षणीया
निकुञ्जयो नो रतिगिरिसिद्धैः यायालि भीतुके रक्षणीया
रतिभक्षा रतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
रतिभक्षा रतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
वन्दे गुरो
यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् नगति कुतोऽपि
ध्यायान्स्तुवं तस्य यशस्वी संज्ञा वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
तस्य यशस्वी संज्ञा वन्दे गुरो श्री चरुणारविन्दा
वन्दे गुरो श्री
Preshaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prakarini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchatyara Shatarini
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prakarini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchatyara Shatarini
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Iti Namine
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Iti Namine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna join Vishnupad, Maharaj? Someone? Someone, can you join Vishnupad? Premadani. Jai. Jai. Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Sri Gauranga. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki
Jai!
Hare Krishna, devotees, those are already offered flower, they can proceed for prashadam. Those are was waiting came, they can offer the flower, and devotees, those are standing, you can see them.
माताजी एक मिनट हाँ Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
ख्याल रखो हमारे
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama. Someone can make space. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna
महाराज नहीं दिख रहे भक्त You have to go that side Prabhuji महाराज नहीं दिख रहे प्रभुजी
Hare
Watch the flowers, watch the flowers. Watch those flowers. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. What about?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
शात गौर भक्त वृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदी
This way. This way. Look at me. Down. Sidewalk. That way. That way. Who's that guy over there by the speaker?
Who's that?
This on the other side by the speaker.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, he yelled at me.
Because I was making this great thing because people were stepping on the flowers, and I moved the speaker.
I just didn't know what to do.
Same thing he did in Farzana too. That's the nice sound.
His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
have it first, like take prashad and then you get in.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You guys want to take prashad first?